So earlier we were discussing about the grade of service of STS network, TST network. Okay, the grade of service of mode 1 for STS network is given by this equation, and grade of service of mode 2 for STS network, mode 2 for STS network is given by this equation, where the capital V1 represents the grade of service of the mode 1 of the STS network. Okay, this is the space switch equivalent of the STS network. If by chance in the examination, if they ask what's the space switch equivalent of the STS network, this is what you are supposed to write. Okay, we were discussing a problem where a system or a STS switch has 16 incoming PCM highway and 16 PCM outgoing highways, where each set of this PCM highway has 24 channel. Okay, the traffic of this during the peak hour is 300 long, and the number of intermediate links which connects these two space switches, as it is a STS combination, space time space switch. Okay, STS combination, the space time space switch, the intermediate link which connecting these two space switches is given by 20. Okay, what he is asking is that he is asking us to find the grade of service under mode 1 and the grade of service of STS switch under mode 2. Okay, these are the parameters where the number of incoming PCM highways are 16, the number of channels within that PCM is 24 channels, the number of intermediate links are 20, the traffic during the busy hour is 300 long. Okay, you can have this equation for the grade of service under mode 1 for STS switches. Okay, the small b, which represent the blocking property or the occupancy of these intermediate links, which is given by the division of the total traffic offered, which is 300 long, by the product of number of PCM channel, in this case 24, times the number of links, intermediate links, which is in this case 20. Okay, the total occupancy or the total blocking probability is given by the unit Erlong, which is turned out to be 0.625 Erlong. Okay, moving on this one, the small b value has been substituted over here, and finally we get the value for b1. The grade of service of mode 1 for STS switches is 0.0482. For mode 2, okay, we need to find the C, capital C, which is given by, okay, the total traffic covered in busy hour or the product, okay, the PCM number of PCM channel times the M incoming or outgoing PCM channel. Okay, the 300 is the okay, the number of the busy traffic offered by the system during the busy hour. The number of PCM channel per PCM highway is 24. It's a PCM 24 PCM system. The number of incoming highways. Now in this case, the only difference is that we took the number of intermediate links to divide the total traffic offered in the case of small b. The only difference is that we are considering number of incoming PCM highways or the number of incoming connection, in this case are 16. The C becomes 0.781 Erlongs. The capital E is missing over here. This is the occupancy time of the outgoing PCM highway or outgoing trunks. Okay, if you substitute, if you come down, we use this equation, B2 is equal to B1 plus 1 minus B1 times C whole to the power of small n. B1, which is already known, which that we have calculated, small c is turned out to be 0.781. Small n in this case represent the number of channels, the number of channels per PCM highway, which is 24, and B2 in this case is 0.0036. This is one of the typical problem which might be asked on grade of service. Another problem, sometimes he might ask you in the reverse way. He might ask you to find the total traffic offered for the given parameter. Okay, in this case, he is saying that STS switch has 10 incoming PCM highway and 10 outgoing PCM highway and 10 intermediate switches to connect the two space switch, and it's a 32 PCM system. Okay, and is asking us to the average PCM blocking probability of both intermediate links and outgoing highways in this case is turned out to be 0.7 Erlong. Both the C and B is turned out to be small c, capital C, and small b that we use to calculate B1 and B2. The grade of service under mode 1 and mode 2 is turned out to be 0.7 in this case. Okay, is asking us to find the estimate the blocking probability, and also is asking us to estimate Okay, the grade of service under mode 2. Okay, before finding the blocking probability or the total traffic offered in this case, we need to find the grade of service under mode 2. Okay, for that one, you need to find the grade of service under mode 1. We use the same equation. The small b is turned out to be zero point 0.7 and k, the number of intermediate links in this case 10. Okay, we'll find b1 which is 0.389. For mode 2, we use this equation where it's given by b1 plus 1 minus b1 times capital C whole to the power of small n. Small n in this case, which represents the number of PCM channel, which is 32. C is assumed as the same as that of the B, which becomes 0.7. B1 is already been calculated. B1 is already been calculated. We substitute all this and find the answer B2 to be 0.0015. Now we use the equation of B, which gives the total traffic which is defined by the total traffic offered over the product of number of PCM channel types, the number of links. Okay, in order to find the total traffic, you rearrange the above equation, which is turned out to be the product of small b times the number of PCM channel times the number of intermediate links, which will give you the total traffic. Even without calculating the grade of service B1 or B2, you can simply get the total traffic offered, as we already assumed for B to be 0.7, and these two parameters are known, and you can easily calculate the total traffic of this STS system during the busy hour. And B1 and B2 has been calculated as shown here. Okay, this is another typical problem. Okay, next we'll move on to the TST network. This is another architecture. Okay, so B1 is given by 1 minus B whole squared whole to the power of n. Okay, for mode 2 is given by 1 minus B1 times 1 minus B small b to the power of n, small n. Well, this is the, even though this is the equation, in most of the cases for TST system, the grade of service under mode 2 is equal to the grade of service under mode 1. The grade of service is because when you substitute the value for b and you raise to the power of n, it is almost, at the negligible level. If it is almost at the negligible level, the above equation is turned out to be b2 is equal to b1. In most of the cases, always, even any question asked to find the grade of service under mode 2 for TST system, it is always equal to the B1. Okay, well, the B1 is given by 1 minus B whole small b whole squared whole to the power of these two terms whole to the power of small n. You know the meaning of small n. Okay, which small n represent the number of channel within a PCM highway. Okay, this is the space switch equivalent of the TST switch. We have n cross n dimension. Okay, switches at the input. Okay, and m cross m switches at the intermediate stage, and n cross n, okay, switches at the outgoing stage. Okay, this is the space switch equivalent of the TST switch. Okay, there is a problem on TST network. Okay, which says a TST network has 20 incoming and 20 outgoing PCM highways, each conveying 30 channel. It's a 20 incoming, 20 outgoing highways. It's a 30 channel PCM system. Okay, and its grade of service is 0.001. The GO is already is given. Find the required grade of service, in this case 0.001. Find the traffic capacity of the network. Okay, and is also asking the sub questions are: connection is required to a particular field channel. The mode 1, mode 2. Here is directly asking the mode 1 and mode 2. Well, this is the probably is the blocking probability of the intermediate links. As you can see, even though the required grade of service, what is saying is that it's not the grade of service under mode 1 and mode 2. It's the blocking probability of the intermediate links. It is the blocking probability of the intermediate links. Okay, we use the equation as we discussed recently. We substitute the value for small b and we get the value of capital B1 to be 0.858. Okay, well, if you do the calculation, Okay, and is asking what's the traffic capacity of the network. Okay, as you know, we you can use the small b value. Earlier we used to calculate the small b value. Even in this case, if the small b is not given, you can always use the parameters to calculate the small b using the previous equation for small b that we have discussed. The total capacity, traffic capacity carried under this condition at the peak hour is given by b times number of PCM channel times the number of links. Okay, number of links in this case is turned out to be 20. Okay, and then the number of PCM channel 30 is given. 0.623 is the small b value, and the total traffic is turned out to be 374 long. And mode 2, the b2 is same as the b1 as I discussed earlier. Even the traffic offered under this condition is 374 long. Okay, 374 long. Okay, moving on, we'll see the synchronization network. We'll see the synchronization network. Say, for example, in a digital switching system, all the links and all the telephone exchanges operate using a clock. It's because for any digital switching system that we use, the whole system is digital, and they need a particular clock to control its operation, control their operation. If you take a particular telecommunication network, uh, say there might a particular region might have different telephone exchanges, okay, which are connected to a telecommunication network. These exchanges might operate using they obviously all of them use different clocks, and these clocks what they are using might differ in the rate at which they operate. Even though it has been decided to operate at a particular frequency due to the tolerance level of the oscillator that being used, okay, at a particular telephone exchange in a telecommunication network, due to the external parameters like temperature, their operation frequency might vary. It might be different from one another, which results in misalignment of the digital frames or any digital data frame that you are going to form. Okay, this misalignment can be controlled using the frame alignment technique. This is a setup that is being used at a particular exchange. You have a buffer and you have an incoming PCM highway. If it is a digital system, it's a PCM highway at a frequency or at a rate FE. Okay, FB is a clock frequency of the local exchange. To match or to align the frame of incoming PCM highway and to use them for the rate at which it can be processed at the local exchange, we use a buffer. Okay, the frame alignment where they extract the timing of both the incoming PCM highway and also the local clock of the exchange will provide its frequency, and the phase difference between these two is used to control the size of the buffer or the level at which the buffer should store the incoming PCM is controlled by the frequency difference of the incoming PCM highway and the local clock frequency. By measuring the difference of these two, the level at which buffer can store the incoming PCM highway is controlled, which in turn control the rate at which it can be transmitted towards the exchange. Okay, which somehow controls the frame alignment. This is what the whole operation. We extract the timing of the incoming PCM and we compare that timing with that of the local exchange clock frequency, and that difference we use to control the buffer level, which in turn control the rate at which the incoming PCM can be stored and can be delivered into the other side of the exchange. This is about the frame alignment. Next, we'll see the synchronization network. A synchronization network is a digital network. Okay, just one or two atomic reference clocks control the frequency of clocks of all the exchanges in the network. Say, for example, if you consider the national telecom network that we discussed, or the different hierarchy that we discussed in the earlier modules. Okay, in particular level, you have different exchanges connected to a telecom network through the junction network or via the tandem exchanges. You have several exchanges connected to a telecom network. Say synchronization network is nothing but okay, one or two reference clocks are used to control the operation frequency of all these exchanges which are connected to that network. Okay, these are the four types of the synchronization network that we will be discussing over here. Okay, so single-ended unilateral synchronization network, single-ended bilateral synchronization network, double-ended unilateral synchronization network, and double-ended bilateral synchronization network. We'll see one by one. Okay, single-ended unilateral, okay, synchronization network. Here in this case, you have an arrangement of master-slave, system. We have arrangement of master-slave system where one exchange, okay, acts like a master which provides a reference clock frequency, and another exchange takes that clock frequency as a reference and adjusts its clock frequency for the successful operation over the network. Okay, the clock frequency of the exchange influences the clock frequency of the other. Okay, the local clock in exchange is provided by crystal oscillator whose frequency can be adjusted by a control voltage. This control voltage is derived by the phase difference between the master clock and then the slave clock. Okay, this control voltage is derived from the phase difference between the master clock and then the local exchange clock, or in this case slave clock. This which in turn used to control the clock frequency of the local exchange, which in turn useful in the synchronized operation of the network. Okay, this voltage is derived from the incoming digital stream of the on a synchronized link. That's what I told you. Okay, the digital stream on a synchronized link will provide the clock frequency reference, which is used to determine whether an exchange clock rate should be increased or decreased. Okay, this is nothing but an adjustment that's supposed to be done at the local exchange clock. Okay, can be determined by the clock rate at which the signal is coming from the synchronization link. What is the synchronization link? Apart from the data, that should be transferred between two exchanges, uh, there are additional, systems, transmission system also exists for the additional operations. Just like the signaling system, there is also a synchronization link which provides a clock reference, which is additional system exists in the telecommunication network, which provides the clock reference for the exchanges. Okay, this is referred as the synchronization link. As you can see, you have a exchange A, which is a master exchange, and you have a exchange B, which is a slave exchange. Okay, we have a phase comparator over here. Over a synchronization network, the exchange B refers to the clock frequency of the exchange A, and now it refers its own clock frequency and uses a phase comparator to provide a feedback to the clock oscillator. Okay, which acts that feedback comes as a voltage, which in turn controls the operation of the, okay, this local exchange B. Okay, the local oscillator of the exchange B. Okay, and as it says, exchange A is the master and exchange B is the slave. Exchange B determines the phase difference between its own clock and that of the exchange A by fill of the aligner buffer or on the incoming link. Okay, you can also do the alignment operation, and also you can adjust the frequency of the operation of the exchange B. Okay, next is the single-ended bilateral system. Okay, in this case, addition process is made at each end of the link. As a result, both exchange clocks achieve the same average frequency. Okay, unlike the previous approach, you have two different exchanges, and the frequency adjustment decision is made locally at those exchanges. Okay, unlike one is master, one is slave. In the unilateral approach, single-ended unilateral approach, you have two exchanges with their own phase comparators which determine the frequency locally. Well, this determining frequency is an average frequency. Okay, average frequency that is agreed upon by these two exchanges. Okay, this control frequency, or the frequency with which they are supposed to operate, is the average frequency, which is the difference of these two, which is average of these two frequencies operated by these two exchanges A and B. Okay, which is agreed upon by both exchanges A and B. Okay, in a system where a particular exchange have a mesh like arrangement, that means if a particular exchange has several other exchanges connected, other exchanges connected, then the overall frequency, the average frequency with which all of these exchanges should be operated is controlled by a master clock. Okay, in this case is a mutual understanding between two exchanges A and B. Okay, in case a particular exchange has connection to one or more exchanges, then you have a master clock to determine the average frequency with which they should operate. Okay, this is the arrangement for single-ended bilateral network. Unlike the unilateral network, you have a comparator, okay, at both ends, okay, and this is the intermediate sync network, and both will come to an agreement on the average frequency of operation in the arrangement like this. Okay, only disadvantage using this single-ended bilateral or single-ended unilateral system is that, okay, the frequency drift due to the changes in propagation delay, the frequency drift that happens, the change of frequency that happens due to the propagation delay or propagation time is not considered. Okay, how it can be overcome? Okay, it can be overcome by using another system called the double-ended unilateral or double-ended bilateral system. Okay, in this system what it does is that, okay, the phase error detected by a particular exchange, the phase error at a, the phase comparator that we use at a particular exchange produces a phase difference like this. Let's say you have two exchanges A and B. Exchange A produces a phase difference of d of A minus B plus the drift in frequency due to the propagation delay, which is dt. Similarly at exchange B, okay, the phase difference between its own clock and that of the exchange is given by d of B minus A plus the clock, frequency drift due to the propagation delay. What they do is that they make sure that each feedback given to each other from exchange A to exchange B, from exchange B to exchange A, they made sure that these differences, they are out of phase with one another. They are out of phase with one another. As you can see, the difference B minus A should be is equal to minus of difference of the d of A minus B. Okay, these two phase differences, they are made to opposite, they are made to act opposite of one another. They are made to be 180-degree phase shift, out of phase shift of one another. This goes as a feedback to the other exchange, which by using a subtractor, they successfully able to eliminate TD. They successfully able to eliminate DD. If you add these two, okay, these different voltages or these different reference of out of phase differences at a particular exchange, okay, which are out of phase with one another, if you provide such a feedback, okay, from one end to the another end, the system will be able to eliminate the the frequency drift due to the propagation delay. That's what the basically the theory say. Okay, what they have is that they have a phase difference. The reference phase difference that they use at each exchange, it made as out of phase. It made as out of phase with one another. Okay, when we use these references at a particular exchange, they can easily eliminate. So, okay, TD, what the theory say. Okay, using this theory, okay, that will be implemented in these two systems. Okay, the single-ended bilateral unilateral system, in this case it uses only one sync channel, okay, only one synchronization signal channel. Okay, whereas double-ended bilateral system uses two synchronization signal channels. Okay, the only difference between double-ended and unilateral system and double-ended bilateral system is that the number of synchronization signal channel which is being used. Okay, this is the difference between single-ended system and then the double-ended system. The double-ended system consider the frequency drift due to the propagation delay, and it is eliminated using this approach that we have discussed. Okay, the only difference between the unilateral system and bilateral system in double-ended system is that the unilateral system uses the single synchronization channel or a system. It uses double-ended bilateral system uses double, okay, as you can see, synchronization signal channel. Okay, we'll see the next part of the module 4, where they discuss about basic software architecture, the basic software architecture of the, you know, digital switching system. As we already seen the basic building blocks of the digital switching system. Okay, the digital switching system in the previous class, and this discussion is the extension of it. Okay, uh, all of you can put your USN now. All of you can put your USN now. All of you, please put your USN. Okay, this is what we were discussing. This is the basic software architecture of the system. Okay, digital switching system. We already discussed the building blocks, where we have the element TM, the interface control, the network control processor, and then a central processor. Each of these are divided into different level of control. We'll see this one by one. We'll see this one by one. Okay, the software architecture of level well control. Okay, this level consists of lines and trunks and other low level functions of the end software. Okay, this level, as you can see from the diagram, this level contains the line and trunk modules and interface control and its related hardware and software. Okay, and the interface controller are controlled by the microcontroller and have a small kernel controlling the hardware of the IC. Okay, as this is a distributed system, as the architecture of the digital switching system is distributed, each and every level has its own hardware and software, and it has its own local control. Okay, even in this case, okay, this stage is controlled by interface controller, which is in turn controlled by a microcontroller at that level, which runs a small kernel for controlling of the hardware and software. Okay, okay, OS at this level. Okay, level 1. Okay, it's not supposed to be level 1. Okay, uh, will have some of the functions like scheduling of the task. I hope you already studied the OS in your previous, you know, classes. So basically the OS at this level is used to perform the scheduling of the task. Okay, the interface controller perform the diagnostics of lines and trunks and other peripheral associated with hardware. The other functionality of the IC is to perform the diagnosis of the line and trunks. As you can see, before setting up of the line should be checked. Okay, whether it is you know, affected by ground, or if it is, you know, available, if it is ready to be used. All these diagnostics such checking has to be done, and this is, okay, done with the help of the interface controller. Okay, the diagnostic routine resides in central processor or in the IC itself. The central processor can run this diagnostic routine program itself or request a fault-free IC to run it. Okay, depend on the architecture or depend on the DSS system design. Okay, these programs to perform the diagnostic operation can be stored in a you know, particular interface controller or particular microcontroller which controls these ICs, or it could be stored in a central processor. It based on the design. Okay, if it is stored in central processor, a central processor might ask a fault-free IC to run it. Okay, if it is stored in a particular interface controller, if it's in central processor, the central processor will take care of, you know, executing the diagnostic operation. In any case of failure, the IC should have the ability to recover locally. Okay, the IC is what responsible for local operation at the level 1. In case of any failure, the IC system should take care of recovering the failure at that level. Okay, next, the software architecture for level 2 control. Okay, this is a level associated with a network controller that may contain relational database or distributed database. Okay, in level 2, okay, it has the network controller. Okay, as you know, in the the building blocks of the DSS, we have a network controller which controls the ICs. Okay, the main function of this network controller or the software associated with this level 2 controller is to maintain the database of the customer. The network controllers control processor as their own OS, and they control the software and hardware functionality. Even in this case, as the system is distributed, the NCPs has their own kernel, or in this case OS, to perform some of the control operation of its hardware and software. It controls the database system, maintains the translation of data between subscriber and parameter required for NCP. Say for example, if some customer has to be connected or to be using any facility provided by the service provider, what are the features that he or she subscribed to must be determined, and which is stored in the database. And the network controller is what responsible for setting up the hardware based on the database of a particular customer. Okay, the NCP should have the ability to diagnose and switch to the working backup. That means even it should be the NCP have a working backup, as the telephone network is a 24/7 system. Okay, even at this level, you should have a working backup or a standby system to take over the current working active system in case of any failures. The recovery mechanism in case of failure of NCP depend on the requirement of the DSS. Either the central NCP may responsible for recovery, all NCPs, or central processor is responsible. Okay, as you can see, you don't find a single NCP. You have multiple NCPs at this level. Okay, in case of any failure, uh, to perform the recovery operation, any one of these master NCP, which controls all these NCPs, can take the responsibility, or else it can be delegated to a central processor. It is even these systems and this kind of arrangement, it also depend on the system design. Okay, the basic functionality of NCPs are: when an interface controller requests for details on a subscriber, NCP queries its database for this information and pass it back to the interface controller. Okay, why this is done is that the subscriber and their facility and the things that he or she is subscribed for is recorded in the database. Whenever the interface controller requests the NCP to make the connection of a particular subscriber, in order to set up the hardware accordingly, okay, the NCP queries his database and provides the respective information to the interface controller. And this database should be managed and should be kept update, okay, time to time. The another functionality of the NCP, the network control processor, is to manage the database and keep the database updated time to time. Okay, this database, one of the best example of this database is that the billing queries. Okay, the billing details of the customer might be in database. Okay, which has to be updated every time and should be managed by NCP. Okay, time to time. Okay, the software architecture of level 3. Okay, we'll see this part in the next class. Okay, I am going to